Corsair is a very summon-heavy class, but don't be fooled into thinking that's all they are. Loaded with tons of mobility options, huge screen-sized attacks, and a hurricane that's only one of their two main bossing skills, they're honestly one of the most varied classes in this entire game, across the board in terms of everything except party support. Let's get you introduced to the whole crew by going over all their skills. Starting off with beginner skills, all Explorer Pirates get a couple unique ones. One that naturally expands their inventory slots for free by 24, and one that not only makes them swim much better than any other non-Explorer Pirate class, but also lets them not lose health while underwater. There's only like 3 underwater places in Maple anymore, so that one doesn't really mean much. Anyways, the Pirate Link skill, Pirate Blessing, stacks with the other Explorer Pirates, and gives you a bunch of flat all stats, health and mana, reduces your damage taken, and specifically for Explorer Pirates, when you double click it, it swaps your dex and strength stats around. 5-second cooldown on swapping stats. Though, it doesn't apply to a bunch of things, mainly just equipped armor and accessories, not totems, weapons, secondaries, etc. First job is the standard you'd expect, for the most part. A couple of passives for movement and crit rate / damage. A bindable flash jump. This dash skill that ups your speed and gives you 100% knockback resistance while it's active apparently. And 2 basic mobbing skills. One focused on knuckles or bare fists, and the other on guns, which is the weapon you'll be using second job onward for everything you do. Nothing special, it just fires 2 shots at enemies in front of you. Moving on, second job has a bit more going for it. Yeah, another shooty shoot mobbing skill. Also this other shooty shoot skill that hits a single target. Oh, another shooty shoot skill that sends you flying backwards every time you click it. And 4 passives. Most are just for typical expected stats and mastery, but this one, Infinity Blast, lets you use bullets infinitely. So you only ever have to buy 1 bullet, and you're set for life. Scurvy Summons is one of Corsair's best skills, even if you don't know it yet. It summons a couple crewmates from the Nautilus to your side, and they attack alongside you. 2-minute duration and 45-second cooldown, so they can just be out and attacking forever. Lastly at second, Wings is your up jump skill. Not only that, it's also your float down skill, if you click it again while in the air. One more thing! While floating down, you can click left or right and glide in that direction for as long as you hold the wings key down. If you let go of it, it drops you down, and can't be used until you touch the ground again. It also carries momentum over from either walking or flash jumping, if you wanted to fly even faster. Is third job that exciting? Kind of? So yeah, a few more passives for more stats and defenses, an upgrade to Scurvy that gives you 2 new crewmates to summon, and tank debuffs for you once every new crewmate summon. And whoa, look at that, a new summon! Siege Bomber is a place down summon that attacks enemies on either side of it while you're in combat. It lasts a minute and can be resummoned as often as you'd like. You also get 2 new attacks. Blunderbuster is just your basic mobbing skill at third, and Black Boot Bill is a knockback skill, shoving back enemies hit by Bill. I did not mean to rhyme that. Ending off third, Roll of the Dice randomly gives you a buff, depending on what number you roll. Here's a list of what each number gives, but the main ones you'll ever want to care about are 5 for extra damage and 6 for extra XP. 3-minute duration, 1-minute cooldown. Fourth job is, oh my god, have a skill or 2. Or 15. Fourth job is chock full of goodies, and is where you truly become the swashbuckler you always pictured yourself to be. First, Maple Warrior and Hero's Will. Okay, those are out of the way. Now, here's the one spammable buff Corsair gets, Jolly Roger. 3-minute duration, no cooldown, and it gives a bunch of attack and resistances, at the cost of lowering your avoidability by a whole lot. Passively gives knockback resistance though. All your passives at 4th all do different things too, so let's start off by going over all of them individually. Ahoy Mateys just boosts the damage of your crewmates and increases your stats when they're summoned, as well as passively giving some max health and a ton of crit damage. Aggressive Stance gives you a 10-second damage buff when you land attacks, and it refreshes with every new attack you land on an enemy. Passively, it also reduces your damage taken too. Majestic Presence is your expected mastery passive, also providing final damage and flat attack, but more importantly, it gives you a final attack with your shot firing attacks. Double Down gives you an extra die whenever you use Roll of the Dice, and rolling the same number on both die gives better of that stat effect you rolled. Namely, 10% stronger on like every effect except if you roll a 1. Lastly, Quick Draw passively gives a couple of attacks here at 4th job, as well as some more at later job ranks, a chance to deal 25% extra final damage at an 8% chance per attack. Guess it's as good a time as any to segue into said attacks. Nautilus Strike is a screen-wide attack that very simply deals damage to anything on screen more or less, and passively gives more damage to Majestic Presence, 30-second cooldown. Brain Scrambler targets one enemy and shoots them for a bunch of lines, ignoring a chunk of IED, boasting 100% crit rate, and only having a 5-second cooldown. This is the main one that benefits from Quick Draw, if you couldn't tell. Just Nautilus Strike and Brain Scrambler can make use of Quick Draw right now, so on to the rest of your attacks. Rapid Fire is your main bossing skill. It's a hurricane-like attack, meaning it's constantly firing and isn't affected by attack speed, and you can move around during it, and even jump. 8 Legs Easton is, hey wait, they got rid of Easton! It's your main mobbing skill that shoots a bunch of bullets in a cone, but it used to summon a big ol' octopus just quick firing a bunch of pistols in roughly the same area that it currently does. My own gripes aside, this is a really good skill that also gives super stance while you're shooting, and it can even be used while holding down at the cost of its range being shortened. It also passively boosts Nautilus Strike's damage. Para-targeting marks one enemy as your target, and all your attacks prioritize hitting that one enemy until they're defeated. Said targeting never goes away either, so once they're marked until they're gone. Additionally, you do increased final damage to said target, and passively gain some crit damage regardless if you use the skill or not. Ending off the behemoth that is 4th job, 2 skills that kinda work with each other. Broadside is a summon that brings forth a giant golden boat, firing off cannonballs at regular intervals. Once said cannonball hits an enemy, it detonates on impact, hitting any enemies within the explosions area. You can have up to 2 out at a time, they last a minute each, and there's only a half-second cooldown in between resummoning the ships. And lastly, Firing Orders places down a mark at wherever you're located, and makes that the target area for bombardment from both your placedown summon skills, Siege Bomber and Broadside. If you right-click toggle this skill, it makes Firing Orders appear at your target enemy's location once you've marked them with Para-targeting. The aforementioned marked bombardment area lasts a whole minute. You can have a total of 1 marked area at a time, and holding down and clicking this skill deactivates it, making your summons go back to firing at whatever they can. Hyper skills are pretty good, even if they're pretty basic and not that exciting. Starting off, Ugly Bomb drops a big ol' bomb in an area in front of you, and blows up any enemies caught in the resulting explosion. 15-second cooldown. Epic Adventure is a simple buff all explorers get that gives you and all other explorer classes in your party 10% damage. 1 minute uptime, 2 minute cooldown. Corsair's 3rd and final hyper skill, Whaler's Potion, heals you for nearly all your health, reduces your damage taken, and makes your summons do more damage. The description's text mentions it also increases attack speed, but in my testing, that doesn't apply to you, the Corsair. I believe it instead increases the attack speed of your summons. 20-second duration, 90-second cooldown. Hyper passives time. Starting off with Double Down, the Corsair Discord says you don't want any of these. While I agree with not wanting addition for an extra number in the pool, of which just gives you IED, which isn't all that useful early on while grinding, I'd argue Enhance is pretty good up until 5th job at level 200, to better ensure you can roll a 6 at a higher chance. Saving Grace is pretty decent too in that regard. It gives you a chance to skip the cooldown of Roll of the Dice if you don't get a double down, and from then on guarantees your next roll to be a double down at a 4 or higher. Working alongside Enhance, that's worth considering, especially while grinding on up to 200. Bossing wise though, yeah, none of these really help out much, especially in comparison to the next sets of passives. Up next is Rapid Fire, and these are all useful and good, especially Reinforce for extra damage, and Boss Rush for extra boss damage. Add Range is the only one you'd want to skip out on here, but it can be handy much later on during the Kaling boss fight, according to the Corsair Google Doc. Apparently no other boss though, so Lastly, Brain Scrambler. You want everything for this. It's your main bossing skill you'll be casting every 5 or so seconds, and these all just up its damage by a lot each. Extra damage, extra boss damage, and an extra line of damage. Honestly, most of Corsair's hyper passives are focused around bossing, so you can't really go wrong with nearly every choice here, aside from the double down passives while bossing, or Rapid Fire's add range. Speaking of bossing, 5th job is pretty much entirely boss-centric. Bullet Barrage makes you fire off wildly in every direction around you. You can move around and even flash jump while barraging. 4-second duration, 90-second cooldown. Nautilus Assault summons the Nautilus battleship, this time coming down in real close, slamming down at your location, and barraging enemies for a few seconds. While summoning it, you're invincible, and you also can't use Nautilus Strike during it. 3-minute cooldown. Death Trigger shoots a bullet that ricochets around to other nearby enemies, up to 7 times. If there's still enemies near you after the shot flies past them, the ricochet will come back towards you to target said enemies. And if you parrot target an enemy, or there's only one enemy to fire at, the shot keeps attacking said enemy. 45-second cooldown, reducing by half a second for each remaining ricochet that wasn't used. Target lock spawns up to 12 of these target reticles around the map on enemies constantly, just passively appearing without you having to do anything. They're just there all the time. If you cast target lock, they'll go away, at least until it comes back off cooldown, and you attack all said targeted enemies. If you see the icon for this skill turn red, that means a specific enemy is target locked, which can triple this skill's damage. You're also invincible when you're attacking during this skill. 30-second cooldown. Shared Explorer Nodes time. Maple World Goddess's Blessing is very simply a 1-minute buff that increases your damage, as well as the stat bonuses passively provided by Maple Warrior. 2-minute cooldown. Pirate's Banner raises the Jolly Roger flag of freedom, making you jump up in the air and planting a gigantic flag into the ground in which you stand. Said flag increases the stats of you and all nearby party members, as well as reduces any enemy's IED that go near the flag for 30 seconds. 59-second cooldown at level 1, going down to 30 seconds at max level, meaning you can have 100% uptime on it. To end off all the pirate skills, we got 2 more shared pirate nodes to go over. Loaded Dice gives you the ability to guarantee one number of your choice in your next dice roll. Additionally, you get to roll a 3rd die with Roll of the Dice, and with it, of course, you get further enhanced stats if you roll 3 of the same number, just 10% more than the Double Down's stat boosts. It also passively increases your attack. Lastly, Overdrive is an odd, yet very useful, skill. When you pop it, you gain an attack boost for 28 seconds. When it's on cooldown, however, you lose 15% of your attack power until it comes back off cooldown. Great for bursts, but something to heavily keep in mind. 70-second cooldown, going down to 60 seconds, or 1 minute, at max level. Oh, you wanted me to explain how to make Corsair easy? Yeah, alright. Let's make them easy. I'll start with my favorite part of this class, mobility. You get plenty of options at all times for going fast, stopping on a dime, ways to easily position yourself, stall in the air. It's kinda nutty. Honestly, they remind me a lot of Ho-Young's mobility. Starting off, remember recoil shot? If you put that on a macro by itself and bind it to a button, it'll not only cast it faster, but you can now hold it down to fire it repeatedly, which can be useful to move yourself back a little bit, or a lot of it. Holding it down without the macro just casts it once. Now wings, what a loaded skill. If you cast wings from the ground, you can guarantee maximum height gained, whereas casting it in the air usually results in getting less height, which varies a bit depending on when in your jump you cast it. Additionally, if you didn't want to go the full height, you can shorten your jump height by tapping wings again as you're launching upwards. It varies a bit depending on your latency, so even though it's not 100% consistent, it could still be either fun or useful. If you needed to stop your horizontal movement in a pinch, while flying through the air after flash jumping, turn around and click wings. You'll dead stop all horizontal movement and do a little air hop wherever you used it. Lastly, for mobility explanations, you can carry over all your momentum into wings from your flash jump. Simply just press and hold wings after you flash jump, and you're soaring faster than you'd normally be able to glide. Be warned though, once you click either left or right, you lose all that extra momentum. For grinding, get your dice loaded onto 6 for extra XP, pop all your summons around any map you feel most comfortable with, and fire off occasionally with 8-Leg Zeeston. Your Ugly Bomb and various 5th job skills and map wipes are fine enough to use while grinding too, but your summons alongside Erda Fountain and whatever else you have just cleans house for you. Soul Janus at 6th helps clear out even more too, both as dawn and dusk. So at 6th job, maybe consider that if you wanted even comfier grinding. Speaking of comfier grinding, attack speed through decent speed infusion or monster part green pot helps in specific with 8-Leg Zeeston. Attack speed isn't really useful during bossing though, beyond speeding up the casting animations of your skills, since Corsair is a very summon and hurricane heavy class. Good time as any to segue into bossing. Para-targeting is a very important debuff because of that big final damage boost you gain from it. I'll also remind you that right-clicking firing orders adds firing orders onto para-targeting and just places the mark at the targeted enemy's location, whereas normally firing orders would instead only be cast down at your current location. Both are good, but sometimes you'd want the more fine-tuning of firing orders being controlled by you, in case you wanted it elsewhere, like for bosses that move around a lot and such. Once you got a boss right where you want them, keep popping Brain Scrambler every 5 seconds, and hit them up with every 5th job skill and buff you have on you. Let's talk survivability briefly. You get 2 iframe skills, besides your origin skill at 6th job. Nautilus Assault, which is up every 3 minutes, and you should use more so for damage rather than as an iframe skill. And Target Lock, which only has a 30-second cooldown. While you're shooting anything with a target on it, you're invincible. Typically, it's recommended to save Target Lock purely for its iframe capabilities, rather than save it for bursts of damage. But hey, who am I to judge which one you'll pick? Adapt to your environment as you feel most comfortable with. Scurvy Summons is great at tanking status effects. Yeah, each crewmate summoned can only tank 1 debuff per every time you summon them, and then blocking said debuffs is indicated by the lock above their head, but they protect against nearly everything. Basic typical stuns and such, and also boss-specific debuffs like curses and zombify and such. I love these lads. Do you ever get annoyed at bosses constantly knocking you back, up and down and all around? You get a couple skills that give super stance to just flat out deny that ever happening to you when used at the right time. Namely Pirate's Banner during the jumping part of its animation, Bullet Barrage as you're swinging around shooting everything, and the easiest to use non-cooldown skill, Spammable option, 8-Legs Easton. You see a catchy about to throw hands at you, fire the gats at the boy, and you aren't moving from your spot. Speaking of Bullet Barrage, it won't show visually, but you can duck while using it, and it'll go under certain bosses' attacks that you could normally duck under. Corsair Discord's guide also makes mention Bullet Barrage can last anywhere from 4 to 15 seconds due to server connection related issues, so watch out for that too, I guess. I guess this is just a new addition to guides now from here on out, so now they're getting their own section. Let's go over sequences. Sequence casts your buffs faster than you can otherwise manually click them, so they're generally good for every class, if anything just to save a little bit of time every time you pop buffs. The big Corsair Google Doc shares a few different sequences. Starting off burst-wise, these 2 for the ring types, Ring of Restraint and Weapon Jump. Ignoring the rings on these, they're just your full burst and off burst buttons for 3-minute and 1.5-minute bursts, respectively. The first sequence consists of Epic Adventure, Maple World Goddess's Blessing, Overdrive, Whaler's Potion, and AB Link. The second one is just Overdrive, Whaler's Potion, and AB Link. You could add in firing orders for either of these, but the Corsair Discord recommends against this for a number of reasons. In short, you can get rid of it with its own button, and it's just easier to track and handle when it's not on a sequence, even if it saves a button on your keyboard, and saves you from clicking an extra button. Past those 2 burst sequences, there's also these smaller sequences for other buffs and summons, purely just for casting them quicker. Their doc showcases Echo of Hero and Jolly Roger on both of the sequences, mainly because you need 3 for the sequence to work in the first place, regardless if it's on cooldown or not, and these 2 will be up and active near constantly, so clicking them again is just whatever. Why you need 3 skills for a sequence to function, I'm not entirely sure, but you aren't adherent to needing both Echo and Hero and Jolly Roger specifically. You can easily get away with tossing on some random decent nodes too, like Hyperbody or Holy Symbol, or whatever else. There's one bullet in the entire game that's better than anything else available, but it comes with a catch, so first I'll talk about the second best bullet, Giant Bullet. It gives 22 attack, and you can buy it from general merchants for like 3 mil mesos, and since you have infinite bullets from second job onward, you only ever need 1 stack. I mentioned this bullet first because the actual best in slot bullet can only be claimed once per account. This is it. It's called Glass Marble, it gives 25 attack, and you get it by doing a daily in Showa that is pure RNG if it gives you the proper reward or not. The pre-quest to unlock this daily isn't very hard. It starts with a quest called Greco's Request, and then you just follow along for like 3 to 4 quests, with the last being Marikawa's Purse, which requires you to go into the Showa hideout by talking to Kanpei and fighting Yakuza shot callers, these guys, until a purse drops. Afterwards, you unlock Marble Gift from Greco, which is a daily that shows up in your Lightbulb quests, and she randomly gives you 1 buff every day. If you happen to get the Peerless Marble buff from this list of 11 possible marble buffs, then congratulations, you got the glass marble. You can claim it through Maple achievements. It being tied to an achievement is why it's only one per account, by the way. So yeah, if you didn't want to go through all that, Giant Bullet works just fine. Link skills shouldn't be too complicated to explain. Grinding, the same usual trifecta of Aran for combo orb XP, Mercedes for extra flat XP, and Evan for much longer rune duration. Lara tossed in for some more normal enemy damage, maybe Ho-Young Link so you deal more damage to mobs with 100% health, and every other slot can be whatever you felt like, whatever makes you happy. A layout like this is perfectly normal and fine. Bossing isn't too crazy different or surprising either. Boss damage links like Lyn and Demon Slayer, AB Link is just an expected given on every single class now, Luminous for IED, Mojwan's Link for a little more boss damage, and whatever other damage dealing links you have or might help, with a layout roughly looking like this, is totally a-okay. Oh, wait, sorry, no, it's not. We forgot to add in Resistance Link for 8 seconds of invincibility every time you revive in a boss fight. I love that link! You should give it a shot too. It makes bossing so much more comfortable. Inner ability is interesting in Corsair's case because of how one line in specific functions with one of your summons. Let's just dive into the cold water of this. Corsair's bossing IA has two options. The first option consists of enemies hit by multi-target skills +1 for the first line, and second and third lines are whatever mix of boss, abnormal status damage, or cooldown skip if your boss damage is high enough. The boss and abnormal status damage are self-explanatory enough. Cooldown skip is to have a chance to skip the cooldowns of mainly Brain Scrambler and AB Link, but also things like Roll of the Dice and Scurvy summons. But why do you want more mobs hit on a bossing setup? Scurvy summons. Yeah, weirdly enough, even though it says it hits an extra mob, for some reason with this summon in specific and nothing else, it actually counts as an extra line of damage. At its base level, it fires 2 shots. With the mob's hit +1 line, it goes up to 3. The XP obtained artifact has a slightly hidden extra bonus that ups mobs hit by 1 more, that's 4, and the level 20 boost for Scurvy adds yet another line of damage, for a total of 5 lines, for every attack they do, up from its base of 2. I personally don't have the mobs hit +1 IA, nor the Scurvy boost at level 20, so I only deal a paltry 3 lines, but Scurvy is a big part of your damage, so it's worth upping its damage as much as you can. As of this most recent update by the time this guide comes out, it's been confirmed that Scurvy Summons' Hexa upgrade does still get all the extra lines with every mob's hit +1 upgrade. Testing is being done to see if this is the best inner ability for Corsair right now, but it's looking pretty likely. If it's not, then it'll probably instead look something like this, swapping out that first line to instead prioritize cooldown skip, and then probably also including abnormal status damage and boss damage. The second bossing option is specified as a good alternative if you're under 400% total boss damage. It's just the previous inner ability, but dropping the mob's hit +1 line, first line boss, and second and third lines of normal monster damage, and cooldown skip. Way less quirky, exciting, and cool in my opinion, but hey, it's optimized for damage. Lastly, the grinding preset isn't grandiose or new, it's the same as everybody else. Drop, meso, and normal monster damage. Trinodes, So out of these 14 Trinodes to choose from, you want 9 of them, and thankfully they're divided neatly into 3 different types. The bossing one consists of Majestic Presence, Brain Scrambler, and Rapid Fire. Brain Scrambler and Rapid Fire are your main bossing attacks, and Majestic Presence is here purely because its Trinode boosts the damage of its final attack, which both Brain Scrambler and Rapid Fire proc. Next, the Grinding Trinode. 8 Legs Easton is your main mobbing skill, Nautilus Strike is a nice, mostly screen-wide attack, and Ugly Bomb is another nice chunk of damage in a fairly wide area. Lastly, Summons. Scurvy Summons is one of your best skills in your entire kit, following you around and doing big damage, and Broadside and Siege Bomber alike are great playdown summons, covering any sides of the map you're not currently at while grinding, or a bit more damage while in a boss fight with firing orders. As you've probably guessed, aside from Majestic Presence, these are all skills that get 6-job Hexa boosts too, so it's future-proofed for that. They're all good and important to get, but if you plan on maining this class well into 260 and beyond, the order of the Trinodes doesn't matter much. Just avoid the other 5 Trinode options that aren't listed in this section. For burst/BA, you want to make sure all your summons are out. Siege Bomber on both broadsides facing the boss, your roll of the dice buff durating and presumably on 5 for damage, of course. Scurvy summons also out and about, and make sure the boss is marked with either para-targeting or firing orders. Next, if you sequenced up the rest of your burst buffs, just pop that. If not though, pop Maple World Goddess's Blessing, Epic Adventure, Pirate's Banner, Overdrive, Whaler's Potion, and AB Link. Now for the attacks. Pop Nautilus Assault, Death Trigger, Bullet Barrage, and then hold down Rapid Fire, and pop Brain Scrambler when it's off cooldown, which is every 5 seconds. Shorten down. Summons and buffs, sequence button for your burst buffs, Nautilus Assault, Death Trigger, Bullet Barrage, spam Rapid Fire, and Brain Scrambler every 5 seconds. When you get your Origin skill at 6th job, you'll want to use that right after Nautilus Assault and before Death Trigger. For your off burst, all you really have to do is have all the same summons out, place down Pirate's Banner, pop your mini sequence consisting of Overdrive, Whaler's Potion, and AB Link, make sure the boss is marked with para-targeting/firing orders, pop Death Trigger and Bullet Barrage, and then go back to spamming Brain Scrambler and Rapid Fire. Sequence button trivialized a lot of classes, and Corsair is one of them. Yet you still need all your summons, most of which can't be sequenced. But past that and the burst buttons, it's just clicking your 5ths and spamming your main bossing skills. Corsair is a weird enigma to me. They got great mobility, comfortable enough bossing, fairly lazy grinding, and pretty decent damage. All the makings of a class that you'd expect to be fairly popular in modern Maple. So why is this class seemingly so unpopular? I never really see people play Corsair, especially in the higher levels, and I'm honestly not entirely sure why. I think this class deserves way more love, and it's definitely one I'll be coming back to in the future to push to 6th job, because personally for me, they're my second favorite class in the entire game, strictly in terms of their mobility. I just find it really fun having so much control over where I am at all times. Thanks to the Corsair Discord for their massive class guide explaining so much about this class, as well as having a whole section about must-knows for Corsair, and thank you for watching my guide. If there's more classes you want me to go over in the future, let me know down in the comments. If you just like these videos and want more of them, consider subscribing to the channel. I got some ideas in mind for my next guide, but as always, my opinion can be swayed if enough people want something else beforehand. That's all.